I always thought I was one of the good ones. Not perfect, but loyal, hardworking, someone who could be trusted, at home, at work, anywhere. I used to take pride in being the kind of woman people described as steady. My husband Mark used to say that's what drew him to me in the first place. That quiet strength. The kind of person who could hold everything together when life got messy. But it turns out, even the steady ones have breaking points. Mark and I had been married for 7 years when it happened. We met in college, both broke, both full of dreams. He studied computer engineering. I studied business management. He used to joke that we'd be a power couple one day. He'd build the products, I'd sell them. Our life together was simple. Small apartment, shared grocery lists, movie nights on Fridays, lazy Sundays with coffee in bed. There was comfort in it. Predictability. But over time, that predictability started to feel like routine. Like every day was a loop I couldn't escape from. Mark worked long hours, and when he came home, he was too tired to talk about anything that wasn't bills, groceries, or sleep. We didn't fight, which almost made it worse. We just coasted. When my company announced an opening for a regional management position, I threw myself into it. It was my chance to move up, to finally feel like I was doing something again. Then David arrived. David Barnes, our new regional director, walked in on his first day like he owned the place. He was maybe early 40s, tall, fit, with that kind of confidence that makes people automatically stand straighter when he speaks. His voice had a calm authority to it, smooth but commanding. From the moment he shook my hand, I felt seen. He looked at me, really looked at me, when I spoke during meetings. He'd remember things I said, small details about my projects, even comments I made in passing. After one presentation, he pulled me aside. "Good work in there," he said. "You were the only one who gave real answers instead of fluff." I laughed awkwardly, brushing it off, but I felt something in my chest tighten. Pride mixed with something I didn't want to name. After that, he started calling me into his office more often. At first, it was work-related. We'd go over reports, brainstorm client strategies, but gradually the conversation shifted. He'd ask about my weekend, about Mark, about whether I felt fulfilled at home. "I bet it's hard," he said one evening as we finished a late project. "Being with someone who doesn't understand ambition." I should have stopped him. I should have told him it wasn't appropriate. But instead, I laughed, a nervous, almost flattered laugh, and said, "He tries." That was the first crack. The next few months were a blur of compliments, late-night texts, and quiet moments that lingered too long. He'd send messages like, "You're the smartest person on this team. You have leadership potential. You just need someone to notice it." And he was right. I had been overlooked for years. I told myself I was just appreciating the recognition. That's all it was. Until that night in Chicago. We were scheduled for a 2-day conference. It was my first real chance to network with upper management, and I wanted to make an impression. David offered to meet me for dinner beforehand. "Just to go over talking points," he said. I remember standing in front of the mirror in my hotel room, staring at myself in a dress that was maybe a little too nice for a work dinner. I told myself it was professional, that I was just nervous. But deep down, I knew. Dinner was electric. He was charming, funny, attentive. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. Every time he leaned in, my heart raced a little faster. When we walked out, he brushed his hand against mine, just barely. And I didn't pull away. Later, when he invited me to go over tomorrow's schedule in his suite, I said yes. The moment the door closed, we both knew what was going to happen. I could have walked away. I could have said no. But I didn't. That night, I crossed a line I could never uncross. After that, things moved fast. At work, nothing seemed different on the surface. But between us, there was this constant undercurrent. A secret. A spark. We'd sneak glances during meetings, find excuses to work late. The guilt was constant, gnawing. I'd come home to Mark and he'd ask how my trip was, if I had fun, if I'd learned anything. I'd kiss him, smile, and lie through my teeth. Then, a month later, the email came. Promotion announcement. Congratulations to Emily Shaw, Senior Project Lead. My heart dropped when I saw it. I'd wanted it for years, but it didn't feel like an accomplishment. It felt like a transaction. David sent me a message that night. Told you I'd make sure they saw your worth. I stared at the screen, sick to my stomach. I tried to end things after that. I told him I couldn't keep doing it, that it wasn't fair to Mark or to myself. He smiled. Don't overthink it, Emily. You earned that promotion. You've earned everything you've gotten. But when I stopped responding to his late-night texts, he started dropping comments that scared me. You know how people talk in this company. It would be a shame if someone misunderstood what we had. You don't want to ruin your reputation over something so small. He never outright threatened me, but the implication was there. He owned me now. At home, things got worse. Mark could tell something was off. He'd ask if I was okay, if I was tired, if something at work was bothering me. I'd say no, I was just busy. But he'd still watch me. That quiet, concerned gaze of his that made me feel exposed. One night, he made dinner, my favorite homemade lasagna. He poured wine, set candles, and smiled across the table. Hey, he said softly. Do you remember our first date? I laughed. Of course. The little Italian place with the terrible waiter. He nodded. Yeah, you made fun of me for ordering spaghetti on a first date. You said it wasn't a confidence dish. We both laughed, but then he got quiet. I miss us, he said. You're here, but you're not here. I couldn't answer. I just took another sip of wine and said I was tired. That night, he reached for me in bed, and I turned away. The next few months were a spiral. I kept pretending everything was fine. At home, at work, even in my head. I told myself I'd stop, that I'd fix it, that it wasn't too late. But then HR called me in. There had been a complaint. A younger employee had come forward accusing David of harassment. They wanted to speak to me as a witness. My stomach twisted into knots. I knew what that meant. That everything was about to come crashing down. When I sat in the conference room, they slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed copies of emails, mine and David's, late-night messages, hotel bookings, expense reports. Do you want to explain these? The HR director asked quietly. I couldn't speak. When I got home that night, Mark was sitting at the kitchen table. My laptop was open in front of him. My emails were up. He didn't look angry, just hollow. How long? He asked. I broke. I told him everything. The first trip, the messages, the promotion, the guilt. He didn't say a word. He packed a bag, took his keys, and left. I haven't seen him since. After the investigation, David was terminated. The official report said, breach of conduct and abuse of power. I was asked to resign for professionalism concerns. In a single week, I lost my job, my husband, and my reputation. I thought that was the bottom. But it wasn't. Word spread fast in the industry. I was blacklisted without anyone saying it out loud. No one wanted to hire the woman who slept her way up. I moved into a small apartment across town, away from everyone who knew me. My days blurred together. Endless job applications, rejection emails, quiet evenings where the silence felt like punishment. Sometimes I'd scroll through social media and see Mark smiling with friends, hiking, living. One photo nearly broke me. He was with a woman at a cabin, her hand on his arm. They looked so happy. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't, because she got the version of him I destroyed. Now, 2 years later, I work a simple clerical job for a temp agency. I don't talk much. I keep my head down. Every morning, I drive past the old office building. I see the reflection of myself in the glass. Older, duller, a ghost of the woman I used to be. People think betrayal happens in one big moment, a choice, a kiss, a bed. But it doesn't. It happens slowly, in glances, in silences, in the space between what's right and what feels good. I thought I was in control. I thought I could have it all. Love, ambition, validation. But what I really got was a reminder that integrity, once traded, can never be bought back. And that's the promotion that cost me everything.